Hello there, everybody. It's me, Garrett Kidney, the co-host of You've Got to Be Kidding Me on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
And I am Liam Jones, my full name, and I'm also a part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network as a co-host for You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. We cover all the drama, all the matches, all the Vince Russo nonsense you could ever want in your life.
Have you heard of TNA? I bet you have, but would it be funnier if two people made jokes over it the whole time? Probably.
So if that sounds like fun to you, check it out on this very Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network, and Liam will do bits and whatnot.
Cheering at pro wrestling shows in Japan is back, and 2023 is already shaping up to be a big year in the history of pro res. That's why you should listen to the Emerald Flow Show. From the Royal Road to the Green Mat, Paul and Gerard take you into the world of All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. Not only do we analyze events, but we examine business, who is getting over, what angles are working or not. Occasionally, we take a look at other Japanese promotions like DDT and Zero One. So if you're looking for more coverage of the world of Japanese wrestling, check out the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite podcast apps.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee with the first 30-plus minutes, commercial-free, sponsored by Christian Cage. I am your host, Tyler Fornitz. With me, as always, is Fred Moreland. We are here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Fred, I know your world is cold and you're bundling up, but other than that, how are you?
I'm doing all right. It's a little chilly in the fall now, so you gotta keep yourself warm. Eddie Kingston doesn't just provide entertaining wrestling; it's good life advice too.
Yeah, he's really smart. It's almost like he grew up in the cold. And
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Anyways, how are you?
Good. It's been a long NFL season. The Vikings are 1-4, and Justin Jefferson's now an injured reserve.
Yeah.
And my dogs are, well, one is trying to hump and one is trying to get away from being humped. Other than that, we're doing pretty good over here. Let's start here, Fred. Let's start with the war last night. And
yeah,
I thought, one, war is good and stuff. I think
direct competition of wrestling is
yes.
Good.
Sorry, a wrestling war, not war in general.
There's something else going on in the news right now. like tugging at my collar.
And that will be brought
we'll
up.
Talk about that a little bit later too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that itself is an interesting dichotomy for multiple reasons, and we'll get to it. But I think Wrestling War is good because it brings out the best, and it really shows what each company views as the best. And I thought AEW hit it out of the park. They really presented themselves as the alternative, whereas they haven't been doing so in recent weeks. And I thought this could be an interesting turning point. And Tony Khan did talk about post CM Punk how this was going to be a new era, especially with like Wrestle Dream and moving forward. We thought that might be the rated R era with Adam Copeland coming in, but this felt like AEW. This felt like the alternative that we have been begging for forever, where MJF called Jay White a piece of shit. And the show started off with two great wrestling matches. Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland. And then you had, I don't even remember who Adam Page wrestled last night, but he wrestled really good. It was Jay White. That was also very good. And you had the Powerhouse Hobbs squash. Like, yeah, this is AEW. And yes, you still had another dumb Adam Cole pre-tape. But outside of that, I thought this was a really good episode of television. I thought they are starting to figure out what they are as far as what their roots. And overall, it's really hard to like be angry, annoyed, or upset about anything else other than that 2-minute pre-tape.
Yeah. Yeah, I went like, excuse me, I thought this was like a 7 out of 10 show. And maybe without that pre-tape, it would have been an 8, but I thought it was just awful. And we'll get to that in time. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty good episode of Dynamite. And I think especially, I thought it was a really interesting dichotomy between what I read about what they did on NXT. I haven't had a chance to watch any of it yet. And what AEW did. AEW, of course, we'll cover it, but basically they did a one of their not quite pay-per-view TV episodes. They were like, it's going to be a big night, so we're doing a big show. And what their big shows consist of are matches, primarily.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of matches. This definitely had that pay-per-view feel, except for a few times where they took the foot off the gas and were like, here's a pre-tape of Toni Storm introducing what she's doing in picture-in-picture.
Yeah, that was weird. They had 2 Toni Storm pre-tapes in picture-in-picture.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to jump off the track just yet, but I do want to talk about those too, of course. And we had the Adam Cole, Roderick Strong Kingdom pre-tape to talk about too. But other than that, this was just wrestling. This was just like professional wrestling, and this was not sports entertainment, nonsense. And I really like those parts of the show. And I thought that, we had the pre-show as well, which you did not get to see, Rich Craich over here. And, we had a very, Minoru Suzuki is in the United States match. And that basically is there's going to be some chops. There's going to be some mean grandpa mugging. And then he's going to do the JOB. And, look, it's enjoyable to a point. It wasn't a great match or anything, but it was good. I liked it. Eddie, put himself into it like he always does, and Suzuki did enough to be entertaining. And it was like a 3 3/4 star match to me. There were some extremely loud chops, especially early on. They were very impressive in that. But yeah, as far as vibes, I'm getting off track now. Yeah, sorry, I just think about Minoru Suzuki and then it just goes blank. I thought AEW did a great job of establishing this is what our identity is, even if we've been doing a good bit more sports entertainment recently, and we are a wrestling company. And then across the way, it's very funny. There was that report that was leaked to it was Nick Hausman, I think, by WWE, that was like, oh, well, you're not going to be able to believe what our first half hour is going to be against their first half hour. And their first half hour is basically a Cody Rhodes promo announcing a tournament and that he's not going to be in, like the NXT Dusty Rhodes Cup. And that was about it from what I recall reading about. And unless I'm mistaken on that, again, I haven't really spent much time on the NXT show. It's like, yeah, well, it was like, yeah, you're right, just not in the way you meant. And I'm not going to tell you Cody Rhodes is a bad promo or anything. He's a pretty good promo. But I just can't imagine, like, given the choice between watching that Swerve Strickland Bryan Danielson match, which was awesome, or Cody Rhodes doing, one of these extremely WWE style 25-minute monologues that doesn't really do anything other than, announce stuff he's not involved in. I can't imagine, personally, to me, the choice is obvious. It's the great wrestling match. But it's, very WWE to be like, no, the real draw is The Undertaker coming out and choke slamming one of our big stars. It's like, good old WWE booking,
Yeah, it's and I thought that leaked comment to Nick Hausman was honestly telling, because I'm like, it's going to be nothing like what AEW is giving you. Okay, that means they're giving us bullshit. And we knew that looking at the card on paper that AEW is going to come out firing. And Bryan Danielson has been in quite a few TV opening matches.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're utilizing him to really keep people in that first quarter hour, because it's usually the highest viewed quarter hour of Dynamite, that first quarter hour. And having him versus Swerve, it was great. You had Adam Page helping Bryan Danielson inadvertently, which is very interesting, to help Danielson get the win over Swerve with the crown.
Yeah.
And it was just a great wrestling match. And like that's where I'm starting to get hope in this company again, because there's for weeks it was like, oh, sports entertainment-y bullshit, or MJF just being a doofus.
Yeah.
But then you get this.
Yeah.
This is AEW. This is what we want.
Yeah.
And
this is the stuff they do well. Here's the thing is AEW has had some competitive advantages over WWE. And one of them is that they just do wrestling stuff really well. They don't try to do all this sports entertainment or really a show about a wrestling show. Wrestling is bad, actually, kind of stuff. It's been set up from the beginning to appeal to professional wrestling fans and just be like, this is what we are, and there's nothing wrong with that, and we're just going to be really damn good at it. And look, there's a place for humor in wrestling. Trust me. Mick Foley was one of my favorite growing up because he was funny. In addition to everything else, he did great. But I think one of the biggest problems with AEW right now is they're trying to do humor without any jokes, and it's just doesn't work at all. I'll point to the I guess I'll bring this up now, the Toni Storm pre-tapes. I actually thought it was a genius idea to have her do a silent movie gimmick during the picture-in-pictures, because that's way more engaging to me than mostly rest hold wrestling in the smaller of the two picture-in-pictures. It's a good use of the real estate. It's a brilliant idea. I thought it was really a great idea. Even though I'm kind of out on the Toni Storm thing because it's a little too much, but then they just didn't have a plot for her quote silent movie. So at that point, it's like, well, this was just a wasted idea. Like, you had a great idea, and then you didn't do anything to fill it out. It was just her vamping and doing like improv exercises. And that's a bit of a shame, because if they had actually done like a proper silent movie, I mean, God, if Brian Alvarez can go and screw around with the camera 15 years ago, Toni Storm can steal his gimmick and use AEW's budget to, do something a little better. Just kind of, I thought that was a blown opportunity, but maybe there's something there. Maybe they can steer into it correctly, but you can't just have your gimmick be, I'm a old timey movie star, I'm going to do a silent movie, and then the silent movie is you sitting in a chair pretending to drive a car.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool, and I think this whole timeless Toni Storm thing, like, it almost felt like a Charlie Chaplin movie last night.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who don't know, Charlie Chaplin was arguably the first movie star. He just an absolute legend when it comes to silent films. And like, my mom introduced me to him when I was a little kid. But the idea was like, you have these silent films, and in the silent films, all you have is some background music. So if you have Toni Storm next to commercials, it's fine, because you're still getting the point across. The music isn't necessarily needed, but it's a nice additive. So the whole idea of timeless is, I think, what this character is going to be is she's going to work her way through time. And she kind of started with the Marilyn Monroe thing, but I wonder if she's going to start going from like 20s. And when you looked at her attire last night, it was almost like a more risque version of like a flapper. Like, that's kind of what it looked like to me. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it does in my head. And I think she's going to start to progress and progress and progress. And we're going to eventually see a modern day Toni Storm. I don't know, over the course of like a year, maybe. But I think that's the idea of what this timeless character is going to end up being.
Interesting, because I hadn't considered that at all. I just assumed timeless was being used as like, that's an adjective people toss around about old movies. It's a timeless film. So that would be interesting if that's what you're going. If that's what they go for, I should say.
I could be completely wrong. Let's be honest here. But when they started off with the Marilyn Monroe thing, and then they started doing silent films, that's where my brain went to. I'm wondering if this is a chronological, timeless gimmick and not just one specific thing.
I will say that her gimmick is less Marilyn Monroe and more the actress from Sunset Boulevard. That's 100% what she's channeling, though.
It's not Audrey Hepburn, is it?
No. It's more the character, but I'm looking it up because it's going to bother me. Gloria Swanson as Norma Desmond. Great film, by the way. Like, absolutely one of my all-time favorites. Might be my favorite, actually. But yeah, the silent film idea, definitely interesting. I just wish they had done something with it. Like with ideas, but at least it would have been doing something. And even if they were bad ideas, it would have been, worth, of note. But let's start at the top. Just the pre-show. Again, you didn't get to catch that, but it was fun. It was a good atmosphere. Everyone felt like they were having fun. It was kind of the return of the AEW Dark, Excalibur and Taz commentary, vibes. After Eddie Kingston won the match, and he's going to the back, he goes over to commentary, steals Excalibur's headset, tells everyone that don't be idiots to watch Dynamite tonight, sticks it back on Excalibur's hand, hugs Taz, who looks like he wants to die, goes to walk off. Taz yells at him for not giving him the fist bump he requested. Kingston comes back, gives him the fist bump. We throw to the ramp where Renee and RJ City are doing their shtick, and Eddie Kingston just lumbers down the ramp towards them and flips off RJ City, hugs Renee, flips off RJ City again, and then walks to the back. Eddie Kingston is fantastic. Just absolutely the best.
I love Eddie Kingston, and he is basically living out every wrestling fantasy he's ever had.
Oh, yeah.
And good for him.
Yeah, man. It's a blast. He's had himself a good year. He disappeared for a little bit there, but, he's the Ring of Honor World Champion now. He had a very good feud with Claudio. He had a good run in the G1. A lot of jokes about how he was going to get hurt from people, but, he stayed healthy and he did a damn good effort. Cried after winning the New Japan Openweight Strong Championship, making that title feel the most important it's ever been. Eddie Kingston rules, man. He's just so good.
It's the authenticity. That's a 100% what it is with Eddie Kingston. He's fine in the ring, fine to really good.
Yeah, he can be really good. He's middle-aged and fat, but God bless him, so am I, and I can't throw a back fist, so.
I can, it's just not going to be nearly as good as Eddie Kingston. So
I would probably hurt my hip, knowing me.
I don't even remember what we were doing. I think we were walking, and I think I tweaked my calf, and it's just felt wonky for like 3 weeks. I'm like, what the hell? Walking sucks.
I hurt my ribs by coughing in the past week.
Eclair is disappointed in you.
I'm disappointed in me.
All right, let's continue on here with the news as my dogs are going to make weird noises in the background because they're playing on the couch next to me. Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio says WWE is not going to be signing CM Punk as of right now, and that comes as a direct contradiction to the report from Nick Hausman, who we know has he is PR Punk. He gets a lot of his information from CM Punk. Said that a source within WWE said that it was going to happen. I would take this as a sign that it's probably not going to happen right now, but it could happen eventually. Obviously, everybody's pointing to Survivor Series in Chicago on, I believe it's November 17th. Like, that makes sense, but I think that also might be a pipe dream at this point. But never say never with WWE and any professional wrestler because they've mended far worse bridges than this one.
Yeah, but they have said no to him 3 times, as Trevor Dame has tweeted. He basically, it was back when he was working for Fox, and Fox wanted him to go back to WWE. Vince shot it down. Back towards the tail end of last year, when Punk thought he was going to get bought out and try to go to WWE, and they said no. And then this instant, and what if WWE business goes down? Well, maybe they'll go for Punk. Who's to say? But I don't think there's very much motivation there for them to go and reach out to CM Punk. It's just, he might add a little bit, but they're already doing well, so it's not like they need him badly. See, we have a little tiff here between the dogs.
The Hungee dogs are having some fun, and Fred gets a nice front row view to Odie and Eclair playing with each other right next to me and the microphone, which is always fun. Let's continue on with some news then. I think we really need to talk about the show. Injuries. We have a few of them, and let's start with the oldest one, and that is Kyle O'Reilly. He's been out for the better part of a year with a neck injury. It was revealed, I believe it was by O'Reilly earlier this week, that he was unable to move his right arm after his surgery due to a rare complication, but he underwent therapy to be able to move it again. And I don't know if he'll ever be able to return to wrestling, but it sounds like he's getting closer to being fully healthy.
Yeah.
And God bless that.
Yeah, he's been out 16 months. I don't know what the timetable is. There is a kind of an error to that post he made on Instagram, which is what this information is from. That was like, I'm coming back soon. Obviously nothing's been announced. It'll be kind of a surprise for him to return, and I guess we'll see. But I just hope he's healthy. That's the biggest thing. And fortunately, neck surgeries and the like has improved a lot over the past few years, but they're still risky. And he unfortunately had a complication from it, and you hate to see it. Glad that he is recovering from it though, and some therapy was able to help him out, and hopefully he keeps getting better.
Yeah, all the best to Kyle. And as far as the professional wrestler Kyle O'Reilly, God, I hope we get him back soon. He rules so much. But most importantly, we hope the human is okay.
Yeah, man,
and it seems like the human is okay, which is great news. Some more minor injuries in comparison. At Wrestle Dream, Sammy Guevara suffered a concussion. He did not appear on Dynamite this week or last week. And hopefully he gets better here soon.
Yeah.
Luchasaurus possibly broke his finger on Collision. And Cash Wheeler has a possible broken rib, which, along with his trial that's going to be happening in Florida here soon, could have been the reason why FTR dropped the tag titles to Big Bill. Big Bill is a world tag team champion. It's not with Brian Cage. I can live with it not being with Brian Cage, but Big Bill is a world tag team champion.
That's right. This is a Big Bill podcast, and we're happy for him, man. It's great to see them. His life's really improved over the past 5 years. He's got himself clean, and he's performing at a high level now. And good for him, man. It's great. One injury I did forget, and kind of shockingly, since it literally changed the card last night, but John Moxley is still not cleared after his concussion. It's a positive sign he was able to do commentary for Wrestle Dream and make all those donations to charities. And I can only assume that he personally funded the purchase of those toys that AEW is donating to Toys for Tots. That was their big pre-show announcement, was that they're donating, I think 50,000 AEW toys to Toys for Tots. And I can only assume every single dollar came from John Moxley, I have to assume.
If they're donating 50,000 toys, if each toy is a $20 toy, that's $1 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That one, it rules that it's going to Toys for Tots, one of the best charities in America, because all they do is collect toys and give them to children so they can be happy on Christmas.
Yeah.
Is there a better type of charity than to make children happy? I will say, I believe it was watching the baseball game, and Dennis Quaid got involved in this charity where they pay off mortgages to for the families of fallen police officers and stuff.
Oh, that's good.
God, what a sweet charity!
There's some charities Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Once I'm in a better financial position, they do like monthly gimmicks where it's like a subscription, like you would do for like a streaming service. I'm going to donate to that because that's a charity I can get behind.
Yeah, I've also seen other ones that I really like that will purchase medical debt because it gets sold off to private groups for like pennies on the dollar, and they'll just forgive it. And so instead of having this, sword of Damocles hanging over your head for your entire life because you got sick and had to have, expensive treatment, these groups will buy that debt and just write it off. And I think that's really awesome. But
hey, if they want to buy like one of my credit cards, which is how I paid for my medical debt, I would appreciate that.
I understand that. Yeah, but yeah, that was a fantastic move. And but yeah, Jon Moxley hopefully back soon. Just remember, no concussion really is minor. Even if Mox was able to get back on the mic in a week or two, there's still got to take care of himself. Got to avoid.
Sidney Crosby missed the better part of 18 months with a concussion.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Bryan Danielson's had a bunch, and it shouldn't be a surprise at this point that concussions are bad. On that note, I was listening to a Shutdown Fullcast episode last week where they talked about how I got to talk about this with you specifically, Tyler.
I just got to say, I love those psychopaths, and I mean that in the most endearing way possible.
It's a crazy ass show, and it's fantastic. But they did a whole 20-minute bit about, or just really a discussion about how ESPN used to send out there's most violent hit tapes, and those are just basically evidence in a trial now.
What I remember, they used to do a segment on, I think it was
ESPN got
Monday Night Countdown. You got jacked up.
Yeah, they made a whole catchphrase and everything, and it's look at this guy's body, brain being liquefied. Hit the catchphrase, and
it's truly astounding. That was 15 years ago.
I know, right? And it's not like it was a mystery that concussions were bad. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. But it's so not funny. It's funny.
It's a morbid laugh because all you could do is laugh because you don't know how to react otherwise.
Oh my god. Anyways, I just we talked about the concussion and I remembered that, so I had to get that shit in. And then I guess the last news story is we talked about it a little before, but it sounds very definitive that Mariah May is coming into AEW, and it sounds like she's going to be associated with Toni Storm.
I don't know how that's going to work.
Have you seen the movie All About Eve?
Ooh, I can't say I have.
All right, well, go watch the movie All About Eve. It's an all-time classic. It's from 1950. It's basically about an actress who has an obsessed fan who maneuvers herself into the actress's life such to replace her. Look, if we're doing this classic movie gimmick, you got to use this storyline. I mean, it's right there. It would actually translate to wrestling pretty well, and it's a layup.
Breaking news: hot blonde replaces hot blonde.
Yeah, it's Hollywood, baby.
I'm excited for Mariah May because she kind of came out of nowhere. Stardom brought her in, and within 6 months, she was a big star.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's anywhere close to a finished product. I don't know if we can trust AEW to truly develop her, per se, but I do like the idea of bringing in a talent like May, who has a really high ceiling, and she's got the look. She's how can I phrase this without being disrespectful? She's got the look of Charlotte Flair 2014.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, she's tall, athletic build, she's attractive, and she's an athlete. Those are all massive positives to being a great pro wrestler.
Yeah.
And if you can work well in Stardom and get over there, where that is a work rate promotion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That speaks volumes about what you can be as a talent. And AEW getting her is great, but they haven't exactly exuded the best track record of developing. So I'm very curious how that's going to work out for Mariah, especially in the women's division. I mean, Saraya just finished her token title reign. I hope it's a token title reign. We never see her with the belt again. But it's not exactly the strongest group. There are strong individuals in that group. But as a collective whole, if you were to talk about the women's division and give it a grade from 1 to 10, you're probably not going higher than a 6. And I think that might be generous at times because of just where the division currently sits. And it's not like they're not trying. It's not like they haven't tried. It's just one of those things. Like, sometimes there just aren't enough quality women to go around. And the choices that AEW's made to bring in what they believed were quality women haven't worked out the way that they had hoped. So I hope that things go great for Mariah May because I think she's stupid young. Isn't she only like 24, 25?
Yeah, I believe she is about that age.
Yeah, like theoretically, this could work out great, but I'm going to be skeptical until they prove me wrong.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully it works out. I have actually not watched any of her in Stardom because that is yet another promotion I'm way behind on. But that's what happens when you try to follow everything. But yeah, I mean, everything I've heard about her has been very positive and hard to not, be excited about what's coming.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Let's talk about this show, Fred. And I want to say that, and this may be a slight hyperbole, Christian Cage is the second best wrestler in the world today. The only one better, without a shadow of a doubt, is Will Ospreay. And that may sound absolutely absurd and obtuse. I don't care. How great was Christian on this show?
He was, from the opening promo, where he took credit for the commercial-free aspect of the show, which was a nice touch, to the promo on Edge before his match. I'm sorry, Adam Copeland. I'm going to, at least it's not just me, it's AEW commentary that is also struggling with that.
I will say that it's going to really annoy me if they start calling other people superstars because they used superstar a couple times during that match. Yeah. Just as like a general connotation. I'm like, no, they're wrestlers. I get the rated R superstar gimmick and I understand why like Adam Copeland is doing it, but it's going to really annoy me if they start using that connotation moving forward.
Can't disagree. I don't think they will. I think specifically because WWE has a trademark on it. So I think they probably have to legally be careful about that, if I'm not mistaken. So that could save them from that WWE-ism. But man, this Danielson Strickland match, wow, it was awesome.
Listen, I'm going to be 100% real here. I get why Swerve lost. I hated that he lost. This company just does not want people to lose outside of a roll-up. We've talked about this before. Like, Danielson won via roll-up.
No, he won by Misaki on this.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. There was a roll-up right before that for 2 that looked like a...
I'm Nelson Mandela affecting myself, I think. But there's too often where people are winning with roll-ups. Like Orange Cassidy won with his little seatbelt. Not the seatbelt clutch. I don't know what he calls his little roll-up gimmick.
The mousetrap?
Mousetrap, yes. And then...
seatbelt is Yuta.
Jay White won with a roll-up. It's just like... Look, I get you're trying to protect your guys, but you have at least 2 or 3 matches on every single show ending in a roll-up.
Not to correct you again, decisive. Orange Cassidy won with the Orange Punch and then a roll-up.
Yeah, but he did the mousetrap. That's the finish. And I understand he does the Orange Punch, but the finish is the mousetrap.
The mousetrap is like a secondary finish to him, and he did it right after his main finish. So I don't think that one's different, I think, than the Jay White one. But I do agree with you in general.
You know what? You're ruining my joy here, Fred.
That's what I do. Why are you making this sound like a bad thing now?
It is a bad thing. It is a bad thing. Eclair is upset with you. She is just looking down on the floor in disgust.
I don't blame her. Look, I listened to Dave Meltzer for years. You think I'm not going to pick up some habits?
Fair.
Come on But yeah, this match ruled. It was fantastic. That the Bryan Danielson roll up out of the JML driver, by the way, was a thing of beauty. And they worked in the Adam Page storyline nicely with him breaking up the attempt to, hit Danielson with the Nana crown. And yeah, listen, Swerve just feels like a star now. And this is my victory lap. He last year, at the end of last year, I started screaming about how he needed to be pushed as a superstar in this company, how he could have been a world champ by the end of this year. And it took him 6 more months than I thought to finally start that. But it's going to happen at some point in the future. And he rules. He is fantastic. And, it's great to see. It's great to see him have success. Great to see him as a main eventer. I think he could, it's a question of just how big he's going to get, but he's got all the tools and he's just so talented. And
just look at him walking down.
He's got all that confidence too, man.
It was like a trench coat almost, but it was like a super professional looking one. Like it almost had tea coat vibes. And then you have Nana doing his dance. And Swerve just looks over at him and then just has he looked like the most confident man in the world walking down in that ring.
Yeah, he's feeling himself right now.
I love that. I love his moveset too, because it fits him really well. And it's just unique enough where it's not absurd, but it's got little nuances that really fit him well. Like those little kicks he does, the jump up kick to the side of the head.
Yeah,
that might be my favorite move in professional wrestling.
Not a question mark kick, but the what do they call that? It's not a rewind kick either. Technically, it's
no, I don't know what they call it, but it's almost like he pushes off and then he just whips him in the side of the face with the bottom of his foot, and I love it. I think that move just rocks.
Oh, they call it the house call. They gave it a name. Which I think works for him.
Should call it the Roadhouse call and get a little Patrick Swayze reference in there.
Oh boy, but
we're off the rails.
The side slam on the apron by Swerve very early in this match. That was another spot that I loved. And then there was that really weird spot he did in the corner with Danielson, where it was like a inverted power bomb, I guess, where Danielson flipped the wrong way, and that was awesome. But Swerve is a superstar, and I mean Danielson is still just among the very best in wrestling. So,
love me some Bryan Danielson. I'm
so glad we got him out of WWE. I liked him well enough in WWE, but this is what he can do, and it rules.
He was like a shadow of himself in WWE. This is Bryan Danielson, and gosh, outside of he broke his arm, but really outside of that, he's been healthy, and we've been very lucky that he's had such a long stretch. Well, I guess he did have. What did he have? A concussion that kept him out of blood and guts?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so he hasn't been completely healthy, but it feels a lot healthier than his WWE run. So
and when he's healthy, he's still performing at a super high level. So I'm going to be very sad when he does stop doing this full time next year. We'll still get him around, I think, some, and I hope and pray to God. But he's a natural, and hell, Swerve's a natural too. So this is fun.
Yeah,
got to talk about Samoa Joe.
Oh my God.
Samoa Joe is the coolest guy on the planet right now.
Oh, Samoa Joe is the best.
He's so good. He's such a good professional wrestler.
He needs to win this title.
I would not complain. And, that's knowing what MJF can do if he cuts the bullshit. And we'll have a big, long discussion about that when we get to that in the show. But Samoa Joe, just I know he ain't what he was once. He's still really damn good. He's still just looks and carries himself like a superstar. We talk about confidence just with Swerve Strickland and how he carries himself. Boy, Samoa Joe is just so confident at being a professional wrestler.
He is a professional wrestler in every way, shape, or form.
The most professional.
The most professional of all the wrestlers.
That'd be a good gimmick, someone declaring themselves the most professional wrestler. If only Chikara was around, and if only I don't know. All right, next up we had Chris Jericho and Powerhouse Hobbs, and it was squash time, baby.
This was great. Powerhouse Hobbs losing the singlet and just having trunks, I think is a great look for him because he's got such a broad chest and the well-built upper body. Look, he's a powerhouse. Show it off. And I think
that shot they do of him coming out from behind of the entrance wrap, the TNA style shot.
God, his back is just huge.
Brilliant. He looks like the biggest person in the world with that shot. And he just killed Chris Jericho. This was a good Jericho completely overmatched match. He had his little fire up, hit the code breaker for a 2 count, and got the walls of Jericho for a bit. But it was just a snuff film for quite a while. Hobbs just spine busted him 3 times in a row early on and nearly got a Wardlow speed win. And then a couple World's Strongest Slams at the end and finished it off.
I don't like the World's Strongest Slam. I think it looks weak. I don't think it looks like a powerful move.
He needs to move before it. He can't just scoop him and slam him, I think. Yeah. I think what would be a fantastic finisher for him would be the Oklahoma Stampede.
Ooh, yes.
Just herc the guy up over your shoulder, do the Steve Williams, run across the ring, and then just kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be fantastic, and it fit right into his moveset. I mean, honestly, if he just had the spine buster as his finisher, no complaints, because that looks awesome too. That's a fantastic spine buster he does. But yeah, the World's Strongest Slam needs to be a little more dynamic, and I think even if he just kind of just ran with it a little bit first, or did some moves or something, walked with him some first. I'm not asking for a fucking moonsault, or something here. It would be perfect. But yeah, this was awesome. And then he hit another Strongest Slam on the way out and just killed him. Powerhouse Hobbs, he rules.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things about it looking dangerous and looking brutal is it doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of professional wrestling is to suspend your disbelief and believe that this is hurting the other person. Yeah. Stuff like tombstone pile drivers, if done right, doesn't really hurt the other person.
Oh, no.
That's the thing. And if you do it right, it looks brutal and it doesn't hurt anybody.
Exactly.
And that's what we're asking Powerhouse Hobbs for. Just
don't do the old hardcore Holly Alabama slam. That's a really dangerous move, and I hate it whenever people pull it out because it's just so much torque on it, and it's really hard to protect your head with it, and can lead to concussions pretty easily. Just do a sick ass spine buster, and I'm happy, man.
Oh, dude, the Arn Anderson spine buster is one of my favorite moves, just because it's
it was so clean and such a snap.
Oh yeah,
and I think Hobbs does a really awesome one too, on the same tier.
Yeah. So. Then you have Batista spine buster, where he just picks you up and almost spears you into the mat.
That's a good variation on it. Yeah,
great stuff.
This is a spine buster appreciating podcast.
Dang right. One thing. Oh, you know who else is good spine buster? El Desperado.
Oh yeah.
El Desperado. I want to ask you about something because
sure. Spine busters.
I got in a discussion on Twitter with Fightful Sean Ross Sapp, where people were complaining about a crash pad for that Seth Rollins spot in the Last Man Standing match, and I just said, if you're going to use a crash pad, either hide it well enough so nobody knows you're using a crash pad, or don't use it because you can't suspend your disbelief. And he got real salty with me. And I'm just like, just don't do it. Like, that's not pro wrestling. Come on.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. You know, if the spot can't look good, then don't do the spot. Now, I think that
I'm not asking wrestlers to not be safe.
right, exactly. No. I'm not asking for Seth to take whatever spot that was. I didn't actually see it, so I can't comment on the specific spot. But I'm not asking him to take that, you know, raw and just like kill himself. You know, that's not good. Nobody, you know, we shouldn't want that. But you know, if the alternative is like you've got to shoot it so that it looks really soft by the end, then you're just undercutting yourself. You're just kind of ruining the spot by, you know, before it's even launched because of your bad production. And I think there was some discussion of was it the cage bump that Jericho took last like 2 years ago now, I think it was.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Where like it was very clear at the end because they didn't quite get it set up right that he was falling on a crash pad. And like obviously, you know, if you think about it for a second, they're not going to have Chris Jericho land on concrete or something, right? But you don't have to expose it, right? And sometimes it just happens by accident, and that's just part of the deal, unfortunately. But you know, you should at least try to make it look, you know, as real, air quotes here, as possible. So I agree with you.
I'm going to send you my reply, and then you can
let me take a
go
look
back from there. People just got real butthurt about it because, of course, it's tribalism, and I hate it. But at the end of the day, it's like if WWE used the crash pad in the same way, I would rip them into shreds for it the same way. Like that Jericho spot, it sucked.
Yeah, it was not done well.
The Omega spot where he did the one-winged angel like 50 feet off the ground. Like I didn't really have an issue with that being a crash pad because they at least had some kind of barrier over the top. Like it's a stadium stampede. The whole match was ridiculous. That's fine.
Yeah. All right. I'm watching the spot now. Well, I guess the real thing, you know, for the live fans, that's not going to impress anybody. If you see that, the Seth Rollins spot at Fastlane. I will say that if you can shoot that on TV in a way that it doesn't look like that, then go for it, obviously. Now, what's kind of funny is that's not that big of a bump. That's just now I'm all for being safe. I'm not complaining about it for that reason, but it's just like I'm not even sure that's the distance from like the top turnbuckle to the ground. So interesting. Interesting that they used a crash pad for that. I mean, I'm all for safety, so I'm not going to knock that too much. It's a question of if you can make it look good. Now, was this a spot where they didn't show him land and they just showed the aftermath?
I think so. But
okay.
My biggest complaint here is this isn't 1980. This is social media.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna put out that you had a crash pad, and that's gonna take away the magic of pro wrestling. And that
I mean, I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings on that in particular. Because I don't need to watch him do it like for the 30th time. You know, the counterpoint of that is like, you know, anything in wrestling can look exposed. There, you know, we'll talk about Orange Cassidy here in a second. I thought that match was good. But there was a spot Ray Phoenix did his little like hop up Inzy on the apron, but they shot it bad. They shot it at the absolute wrong angle, and it was obvious that like his foot did not come within a foot of Orange Cassidy's head. But he still sold it big, and it was entirely because of the angle. If they shot it from the opposite angle, it would have looked completely fine. That's just part of wrestling production, sadly. It's not like what you want to see. It's not. Let's not bother trying to improve this, but you know, I just can't be up my feelings about it, I guess. You know, they could have hid the mattress. I hope it wasn't an actual mattress, but whatever it was for that Seth Rollins spot better, and I wish they did, but I don't have a problem with them doing it.
Yeah, I hate it. I think it sucks, but I guess we'll just be on opposite sides of the island here. Yeah. Let's move on. After this was that stupid.
Oh, God. Okay, I got to talk on this.
Stupid Adam Cole gimmick.
Atrocious.
Why really? The fuck is Adam Cole mowing a lawn on television? And why is he doing it with a broken ankle? This is so absurd and stupid. I hate this.
Here's the thing is they didn't even put jokes in it. The humor was supposed to be him looking wacky. Like they'd zoom up on his face and whoa, he's making a crazy face. And hey, look, that's Matt Taven and he's got a stuffed giraffe. And Roddy is in a neck brace. And isn't this all hilarious? And no, none of it's funny. It's not good. It's so why are we zooming in on this shit in slow motion and it's supposed to be funny? It's not good. It's not, there's no humor in this. You know, this is not funny stuff and it's not entertaining and I just don't understand it all. I don't know who this is for. And I don't know how this is supposed to add anything to the storyline. This, you know, we've talked a lot and complained a lot about these pre-tapes. And it's kind of damning to go from this nonsense to MJF cutting a damn good babyface promo. And you know, just be like, why can't we have more of the latter and less of this? Just it sucked. It sucked, man. Yeah. This was the worst of them. And I mean, I'm saying that as someone that didn't like a lot of them earlier. This was just trash, outright trash. And they need to cut the shit. Listen to Jade Cargill. Cut the shit, Tony.
Yeah. God, I hate this. Now let's move on to something I didn't hate.
Yeah.
Hangman Page versus Jay White. They have a great match in them.
Oh, you skipped a lot there, buddy.
I watched Dynamite half asleep, so that was not next. Okay.
It's all right. It's all right, buddy. Orange Cassidy and Rey Fenix, we kind of already covered it. And obviously the title change is because Rey's hurt. I thought this was an okay match. It just wasn't long enough to be anything of note. And obviously the result is the big story. I feel like they really had to rush the Orange Cassidy gets his belt back storyline because of injuries, with both Mox and Phoenix out. And I don't know. I kind of wish that they hadn't rushed it, but you know, circumstances change and sometimes you have to. But I do wonder if they could have just put it on someone else and continued the Orange Cassidy chase, because it felt like that was the big story that they were building.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I'm very intrigued to see where this goes, because in a vacuum, I don't like Orange Cassidy getting the title back. I thought he should have been moved away from it. I thought, hey, it's time to move him up. Like the whole New Japan lose up scenario. Like Kenny Omega lost the junior title. Next night, he takes over Bullet Club. Like that kind of thing. This was good, but I will say and give AEW credit, all three of these groups are feuding with each other. So Mox losing it to Phoenix was because of the injury. Phoenix dropping it to Orange Cassidy is probably because of his injury. And they're all feuding with each other, so they can all get back and you can right the ship and put the belt on whoever you want for what's coming next. So they're at least making it work within the storyline, so I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
man, Orange Cassidy winning it back, just it feels lazy, but I think that there's actually some thought behind it, and there's an end game here.
Yeah. And obviously plans have to change, so this stuff happens in wrestling. It's not optimal, but then again, Rey Fenix and Jon Moxley getting hurt within a month of each other isn't optimal either. So we got the Tony Storm picture-in-picture thing, which we already talked about some. And then we had Matt Sydal go on the Wardlow Sacrificial Altar. I'm curious what they're going to do with Wardlow, because I feel like they've hit the point where, like, yeah, you can do a couple more squashes because he's coming back, but you got to do like something with him, and I don't know what that is going to be.
I agree completely. It's this is going to be interesting. I don't know what happens here. What do you think happens?
I don't know, man, because honestly, I don't know. He lost so much momentum after his big face turn, and then the TNT title run that was just kind of a mess. Do you think he should turn heel?
I don't know what to do with him. What they're doing right now is what they should have been doing pretty much from the get-go. Like, he's just going in there, beating someone's ass, and then leaving. This is Goldberg. This is the Goldberg playbook.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Wardlow playbook they used for the longest time.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. I think it's fine. We'll see where it goes from here. I don't know if I care about Wardlow, but these squashes are fun as hell. They're fun as hell.
He's really good at squashes, so I'm not like complaining about the content. It's the direction that I'm kind of curious about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now I think we finally have that Hangman Page match, correct?
Yes. Go off, Queen.
This was good. I liked how they went back and forth. They built the matchup really nicely. And I really wish they would have hit that Uranagi off the top rope. That would have looked so cool. But it's look, these guys work great together. They have a better match in them. And I think they're going to, next time they wrestle, it'll probably be for the world title.
Yeah, I think it's great. This was a fantastic match. These two work together really well. And I went 4.5 on this one as well as the Danielson Swerve one. Both were just really strong matches. And I like this a lot. It was another fantastic match.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to have you tell me what's next because...
Okay. Sleepy Tyler. Well,
I apparently forget what was on the what order the show was in.
It's all right, man. It's all right. Next up is MJF coming out after that match and the promo with Jay White and Bullet Club Gold. And, this sets up their title match, and also next week's Dynamite will have the Dynamite gimmick. And Juice is entering it and says he's going to win it and then take MJF's ring. And literally no one else mentioned the Battle Royal, so I have to assume that's going to be the storyline. But here's the real story coming out of this. Is that a few weeks ago, MJF cut a promo about how when he was a kid, he was bullied by people. And they would, because he's Jewish, and they would throw quarters at him and tell him to pick it up, Jew boy. That's a direct quote from a promo he did on Dynamite a few weeks ago. And Juice Robinson has been doing a gimmick over the past few months where he will use a roll of quarters to hit people. Because, part of his gimmick is having big punches, and he uses that as a heel to cheat further with his punches. And that's it. And so they decided to basically overlap them. And Juice, after telling him that he was going to take his ring, he also was going to give him something that you'll, quote, really like, which is he pulled out a roll of quarters that he had written on Friedman, not MJF, but Friedman. A obvious and overt reference to that promo and the anti-Semitism that MJF cited. Also, this is the week that the war between Israel and Hamas started, which I think is terrible timing for AEW. I think it was tremendously short-sighted to start this week. Now, I'm not Jewish, so I feel like my take here is of far less value than that of someone who is. But I'll just say that I thought it was, if not over the line, it was right at the line and like unnecessarily edgy. And I think people in 2023 don't want heels that are bigoted. Like you could at one point in wrestling have a heel be a bigot and draw effective heat. I think now people just don't want to watch bigoted characters.
So I want to interject here, Fred.
Yeah.
And I think all of this can be true. This story works very well within AEW's canon because
it fit right in. Yeah, sure.
Juice Robinson came across somewhat anti-Semitic by doing so, even though the feeling that I got watching this, that wasn't the intention at all. But sometimes the intended action has an unintended consequence. Yeah. And 3, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this. I really didn't think that I completely lost my train of thought. But
I think one thing that is, it's not confirmed, but I would be shocked if it wasn't true. It's pretty well known.
I remember they shouldn't have done it. They should have had more sensitivity to the issue. And like you said, I also am not Jewish. So it's hard for me to come on here and say X, Y, or Z. But I think it works within the story because of how they've laid everything out. It all intertwines together. I don't think Juice meant to come off anti-Semitic, but the character definitely did. Whether unintended consequences happen a lot. And they should have been more sensitive to what is going on in the world right now and probably not done that. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I
think if this would have happened 3 weeks ago, I don't think anybody cares.
Yeah, I think in 2 weeks, maybe no one cares, depending on what's going over in Israel. But I will note that MJF is pretty well known to have a lot of control over his creative. Joe Lanza has gone so far as to call him the second most powerful guy in AEW behind Tony Khan. And of course, MJF is Jewish. I would be kind of shocked if this was not his idea. That said, that doesn't mean that it's a good idea. So I'm not going to... I feel like this is a complicated situation where my voice isn't exactly the most valuable. I will say that I thought it was a really poorly timed and poorly thought out, probably, and shouldn't have been done. But you could argue that it's fine within the context of wrestling. I guess we'll see if there's going to be any pushback on it in the mainstream. I think Awful Announcing already has an article up about it. I don't know if it's going to get any bigger than that. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's my take. That's I would not have done it. I don't feel qualified to really dig deeper into the conversation beyond that. If people feel like it was acceptable because of the storyline and everything, that's their take.
I think that's pretty much it. Other than I will say kudos to friend of the show, Suit Williams, for bullying MJF into actually being MJF again. This felt like MJF, not cartoon bullshit.
Yeah, that was going to be my focus of this whole discussion. And then we got the roll quarters, and it was like, well, we got something else to talk about. But I will say, Suit Williams, if you didn't catch it on voiceswrestling.com, wrote a really good article about how this MJF stuff has not been working, and it's kind of a bummer. It's a mess. And it was really good. And MJF himself got on Twitter, and I don't know if he actually tweeted at Suit at any point, but he kind of addressed the underlying the points of it, and went back and forth with Alan Farrell, who went off about it on Twitter, went off about MJF's performances recently. And MJF at some point was like, yeah, I got to do better. And this is better. This is what MJF did on the show is exactly what we should have as a babyface MJF. And back when I was talking before All In about how he could become the biggest babyface in wrestling, which I don't think came to fruition because of how they booked that storyline, since, leading up to and then in the aftermath. I thought that I thought that was a great main event segment from him. Really motivated, really hot, and kudos. That's why I voted MJF the number one guy, 30 under 30, and would do so again without a second thought.
God, he was so good here, Fred.
Yeah,
he was so good.
Fantastic promo.
You couldn't ask for much better, and I want more of this, and I think we're going to get more of it, especially with Adam Cole. Well, other than these dopey pre-tapes, is away from the company right now. Whether that ankle is truly broken or not.
Yeah.
I think that's still a question here, Fred.
Look, I will say that if he didn't actually seriously hurt his ankle at All Out, jumping off the stage, then
no, it wasn't All Out. It was
you're right. It's
Grand Slam.
Grand Slam, yeah. Then that was a fantastic sell job, and kudos to him. We could have had so much more of this and none of the nonsense, and instead we got all the nonsense and not enough of this.
Yep.
Next up, we had anything else you want to talk about on that? I mean,
no. Unfortunate timing, because I thought the roll of quarters thing was very well done.
Yeah.
Within the context of what the story is, because of how MJF said he had quarters thrown at him, and Juice Robinson having already used rolls of quarters as a weapon for months. I thought the cohesiveness there is just a lack of awareness, unfortunately, marred what could have been a really nice addition to the story. I think that's all there is to say about it.
After another Tony pre-tape, Tony Storm, silent film, we had Hikaru Shida and Saraya for the AEW World Women's Championship, and we had a title change to Shida. I thought this match was fine. I saw some people much higher on it than me, so I just thought this was like a 2.25 star match, because I don't think this was a particularly great outing by Saraya. But they did the Ruby and Tony Storm gimmick on the outside before the first commercial, and had a pretty good sequence down the stretch. Maybe I underrated this some, but I thought that this was a good win for Shida, and I'm glad the belt is on her.
I gave it 3.25. I thought it was good. I thought Saraya overall is limited as far as bell to bell, and I thought they worked this really well to accentuate the positives and try and limit the negatives. I didn't think this was great. It's not a match I'm ever going to try and go back and watch again, but I didn't waste my time. Yeah. And with a Saraya match in 2023, I think that's a major win. And this was fine. The interference from Ruby was well done, and especially Sheeta catching it the first time.
Yeah.
I thought this was good. Good. Sheeta's on the title, and somebody made the joke that Sheeta is now Charlotte Flair. And I thought that was very funny.
Break glass in case of emergency. Glass contains a Sheeta women's title reign. Look, you could do far worse. She's definitely a better worker at this point in time than Charlotte is. So,
yes.
Unless Charlotte is just beating someone up, in which case I'll give her that particular match. We did the Don Callis stealing or borrowing Sammy Guevara's sign gimmick during the commercial. Some smart usage of P&P on the show. So kudos to them for that. I'll repeat myself. I like the idea of Tony Storm doing silent films during the commercials. Just have them actually be entertaining, like actual films or something. I don't know, or at least approaching it. There's plenty of public domain silent films you can rip off. We had MJF backstage with Renee. He tries to call Adam Cole, but gets through for a little bit, and then the call drops. And then, earlier in the show, the Bullet Club goal to challenge MJF to a 4-on-4 match if he could find 3 people to tolerate him. And who should come up with the Acclaimed, and Max Caster offers to help him. MJF is freaked out by him, walks off. And we finally get a explanation fully on the show where, Billy Gunn's like, what is your deal, man, with MJF? And Caster says they go back 10 years. He thinks he's his friend. And I missed this. Like the friend. No more MJF friend bullshit, please. And I like it when he plays hard to get. Yeah, I really hope we don't get Max Caster as the copy and paste over Adam Cole thing with him. But if this was just like a 3-week thing, it could be all right. So I will reserve judgment and hope it's not like a evolution of the Berchacho line with just, adding in the Acclaimed. I will say that I have been pretty down on the Acclaimed over the past 3, 4, 6 months because they've really fallen into just, a very samey kind of match and act and everything. And yeah. But it's the main event, and Tyler, would you like to discuss Christian Cage's promo right before the main event?
God, he's the best wrestler in the world, man. Other than Will Ospreay. Christian Cage rules. This is great. Everything's cohesive. Everything has a purpose. Everything makes sense. It's the
best storyline in AEW by far.
Oh, and he calls himself Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne's daddy.
That was such a great line.
That's so great.
I'm not their leader. I'm their father. Christian Cage is so good at professional wrestling. And, he said something in the promo about how, he's always been the more talented one. And is he wrong? That may be true. I would say, arguably. But yeah, like he buries Adam coming now when and wanting to recreate the tag team when he didn't a few years ago, and back when he was hot but not getting the push he deserved in WWE right before he went to TNA, and Edge was getting pushed to the moon. And he said, "You need me, I don't need you. But I know your wife Beth is a huge fan." And Beth put some clean sheets on the bed. Your new father is coming home. Oh my God. What a guy.
It's so good.
Promo of the year. He's the promo of the year.
Put him in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame right now.
Just no votes. Just like
no votes. Just
too good. Too good.
This is great stuff. And he tied everything so well into Copeland's promo from last week. And then all of a sudden at the end of the promo, you think you know him. And then the music starts and Copeland just runs down to the ring and stands toe-to-toe with Luchasaurus. Nick Wayne grabs his leg, and then Luchasaurus kind of takes advantage and goes after the neck. And then we get the match, which I'll be honest. I thought this was good. I didn't think it was great. I
Mhm.
thought like 3 3/4.
I went 3 1/4. I thought it was solid. I mean, it was
It was a little
entertain-
long.
Yeah, it was a little long, but Adam Copeland did some fantastic selling in this match. I will 100% give him credit. I think the selling is not the problem. I think his offense may not be the most dynamic at some points. He did have some very cool spots. It's the stuff in between with him that I thought was kind of lacking. And Luchasaurus is a fine bully big man, kind of deal. Yeah, but I thought this was good. And then I really loved the segment after the main event. So you've got the heel is beating down Adam Copeland. Bryan Danielson comes out for the save, gets beat down. So that brings out Christian Cage and Wheeler Yuta to even it up. But then the Mogul Embassy comes out. And then we get Hangman Adam Page because storylines come together sometimes in AEW. And
You know what this reminded me of? Those old brawls on like SmackDown from like 99, 2000 that ended the show. Like, oh, yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
Like kind of gimmick. And this worked really well. It was cohesive. AEW's done quite a few of these end of show brawls, but we haven't had one in a long time. And I thought, like you said, this worked very, very, very well.
Yeah, I thought it was a blast. Great way to end the show. And yeah, great stuff. I thought this is, I went 7 out of 10 on the show. I think the Adam Cole segment literally knocked a point off for me. But yeah, good show. And I thought a good representation for AEW in this competition,
Yeah. Overall, I think this was a great show. And the Copeland match and brawl went head to head with Braun Breaker looking at Undertaker and then getting beaten up.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't fathom why you would have the Undertaker kill someone that's supposed to be a top star for you.
Unless they're going to have a match. Undertaker ain't having a match with
No,
Braun
it's not.
Breaker.
Exactly. So that's like why you use Undertaker in the spot. Like if it's, John Cena and you had plans for 6 months from now. Okay, I get it. I probably wouldn't have that be the thing you remember for 3 months, but I get it. Yeah, it's just odd. Frankly, yeah, just kind of weird.
Yeah, very stupid, but that's NXT for you.
Yep.
Fred, that's our show.
Yeah. Again, happy overall with it. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm curious what the ratings will be, but I'm glad that I don't have to do the discourse for a week. That's a nice bullet to dodge because it's just going to get real stupid. Because people apparently the way to make wrestling nerds mad in 2023 is just put a couple numbers after a 0 point and just let them go off.
I will say if AEW wins, it's going to be a huge victory because everything's going against them. Especially the biggest thing going against them is moving dates. That almost always tanks a number.
That, and also, I wrote an article, cheap plug for Voices of Wrestling, entitled WWE May Have Overplayed a Winning Hand in the 2023 Tuesday Night War. And basically, they should have just gone into this and won, is my take without reading the ratings, because they were hotter than AEW. AEW has felt kind of cold, less so on the TV ratings than attendance, but still, like, they're not gangbusters right now. Yeah, like it's just they should have pretty easily won this, but they went and they were like, no, we are going to win this, and we're going to win it by rolling out literally every star we have access to, essentially, except for Roman Reigns. So they bring all these big names in, and they set themselves up in a position where if they don't easily win this, if it's even kind of close, then they're going to have some amount of egg on their face. Because they were like, we got to bring in John Cena and The Undertaker and Paul Heyman and so on and so forth. And it's like, I don't know that you really needed all those people. And, there's diminishing returns at some point. And if you win by like 0.01, despite all those big names, and that's an AEW being off their night. I mean, frankly, that's kind of a win for AEW, really.
Big time. Yeah. And we'll see how the ratings drop, and I'm excited to see it. We'll talk about it a little next week. Until then, thank you very much for listening. If you are listening on the Voice of Wrestling podcast feed, please feel free to jump over and subscribe to our solo feed to help us continue to grow the show. We have been number one in Turkey multiple weeks over the course of the last year, and we would like to keep it that way, along with potentially growing in other areas. And we would love to be able to share this show worldwide. Thank you for listening. I'm Tyler. He's Fred. Take care.
Have a good one, everyone.
Hello there, everybody. It's me, Garrett Kidney, the co-host of You've Got to Be Kidding Me on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
And I am Liam Jones, my full name, and I'm also a part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network as a co-host for You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. We cover all the drama, all the matches, all the Vince Russo nonsense you could ever want in your life.
Have you heard of TNA? I bet you have, but would it be funnier if two people made jokes over it the whole time? Probably.
So if that sounds like fun to you, check it out on this very Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network, and Liam will do bits and whatnot.
Cheering at pro wrestling shows in Japan is back, and 2023 is already shaping up to be a big year in the history of pro res. That's why you should listen to the Emerald Flow Show. From the Royal Road to the Green Mat, Paul and Gerard take you into the world of All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. Not only do we analyze events, but we examine business, who is getting over, what angles are working or not. Occasionally, we take a look at other Japanese promotions like DDT and Zero One. So if you're looking for more coverage of the world of Japanese wrestling, check out the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite podcast apps.